Great afternoon, guys, and great night, whatever you part of the world you are at watching this. And of course, the camera had to fail me. But other than that, guys, hopefully you're having a great day. Today was very exciting, pump and dump all around. So it's time to start kind of like a connecting stuff. By the way, guys, I added a whole bunch of sound effects. So please let me know if any sound effect is just overkilled or something like that. I'll be more than happy to adjust that for your ears. So let's get started on reviewing what we did yesterday, right? So the two last classes we've been talking about trend lines, right? Trends, support and resistance, sort of patterns, volume, and then we added a little bit of our indicators, which was our dynamic reactor and also our prime oscillator, right? But it's not time for us to start just diving within indicators. We're gonna be connecting stuff. Something important I told you yesterday, it is I loved the trend lines and supports and resistance, because at the end of it all, everything connects within themselves, right? So we're gonna be seeing the evolution of support, resistances, and channels with patterns. So today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of patterns, use a quick introduction, how to look for them, just to kind of like get the feel of what they are, how they break out, how we use them in trading, and also use them to predict the next price action. So also, guys, remember, this is your time. If you want me to take a look at any time frame, any asset, well, just let me know, and I'll more than gladly take a look at here. So guys, also special thanks to Mike Play, let LFG, yes, let's F go, and also if Ethereum, man, you're one of mine. Thank you so much. Trading Tuition, what is up, my friend? Almost Fierce, LFG, almost Fierce, man. Mike Play was like at 30 minutes earlier, so there you go. Dave P, what's up? Alex NG, of course, the Queen mode cannot be missing. Thank you so much for joining, Alexander. We really appreciate it. Dave P, what's up? Wickwife, WW, 2Dub, what's up? Who else we got in here? We have Keep Digging. Dang, it even sounds like a party. Yeah, let's party up. I even changed it right now, the sound effect, just for you. So we might be just getting a little intimidated for what we might be learning. Let me know if you like the sound, the background sounds, or if they're not matchy. I tend to have like a weirdo like. So let me know if that kind of if you like it or not. Mr. Rick, Train Tuition, Rick's wife, Keep Diggity. So what's up? Who else we have? So basically, I think that's most of us. Let's get it rolling, and let's see what else we got here on the charts. Oh, and again, it just had to fail me, right? It just did. So let me just try to fix that for you guys really quick. I think I got it. All right, yes, we got it. So yesterday we were talking about support and resistances, and also the overview of trend lines, so on and so forth, right? We also took a look at what could have been happening on the markets, and we expect a little bit of further move from this candle right here, right from this candle, a further move to the upside. We estimated a little bit of a buffering room in here, and then a going down effect or a rejection out of a support or resistance that we had at that moment, right? Guess what happened? Of course, it was not exactly precise, but look at that. Just by a couple ticks in here, just a couple of $100, we basically nailed it back down. So what is up at this point? Let's get again, let's measure our range, right? We already know how to identify lower ranges, top ranges, right? And that is because we know how to set support and resistances. So at this point, it's not about breakout, it's about what? Seems like we might have a chance to keep moving to the upside, right? Let me show you here. So it's not about breakout, there we go. It's about your retest, and possibly off we go. All right, I would say possibly here because we still need to give it a little bit more time, and we also should be looking at something like volume. Let's add our volume here just for good measure. So just this volume here. So what do we see on the volume? we see that we're increasing bearish volume. That's to be expected, more sells than buys, right? But also, nonetheless, do we see any trend? By the way, a quick tip in here would be measuring increasing volume for FX, basically higher volume while we have lower prices. This is a, can anybody tell me? Divergence. Of course you can. So divergence is correct. So that's what we got in here. Basically a divergence based on the volume and the price action. Usually that ends up being a positive outcome in here, right? But so far, do we have anything like that? Some sort of decreasing overall volume in higher time and higher price action, right? So we can identify inner ranges or inner structure with higher lows and higher highs, right? But so far, let's roll with what we got in front of us, which is a higher high and a higher low. Let's use one of our tools that we also learned how to use yesterday. That tool, it is the trend regression. It is the second bottom to my left, and then almost at the center of my screen, there we go, price regression trend tool in here. I'm going to be adding it somewhere around here because that's what I acknowledge that the price kind of like did the V-shaped recovery. And let's go all the way to the last area here. By the way, let me add it once again because I want to give you a little tip in here. It doesn't matter high or low, how high or high or low you place your first click. Like for example, I can even click it all the way. Let me just remove volume. All the way back down here. It doesn't matter. You see the point? It doesn't matter. And then maybe I can do it all the way up there. It doesn't matter. It will auto-adequate based on these calculations. So that's something cool. Hey, V Violet, what is up? Welcome to the class. Hopefully you're having fun just like I'm having. So there we go. We are rejecting from the channel, going to, what is this called? The median, right? So we're going to the median, breaking the median. Are we going to be holding it? Well, that's where volume comes in place. But so far, what's going to be our next possible entry? You can maybe take it here or maybe taking it all the way down there. For me, I think I'm going to be waiting for the price action hitting the bottom of the range or then breaking the center of this previous downtrend, right? So I can take a look at that coming down, maybe breaking the center of the previous downtrend. You enter, and then off we go just about before the top, right? So maybe trying to jump in and set my stop loss as soon as possible. This is going to be a very hard trade to take in the 4 hours. So if you don't feel prepared, don't worry. Let it go. Let it go. Remember that trading is patience. Trading just like with the heart matters. You sometimes need to let it go. If you really want to trade this, we can go ahead and grab more information out of those candles, right? We can go lower in time frame and extract a trend and a trend pattern out of what we're seeing right here. Let me show you how we do this. So first, just for reference, I'm going to be marking with a square or something like that, with a rectangle, right? This lower portion. And then let's go something like the 15 minutes. So right now I can see the person that I'm looking for, right? And now I can just remove my reference lines, right? Let's just go ahead and get rid of them. All right. In this one, by the way, you can go here to your left, object tree. Whatever you're selecting is being selected. Let's lock it and hide it for a second. All right. Right here, let's apply what we learned, right? And to apply that, we're also going to be having a reference point here because Kalika is repeating the same, right? Low off top, coming down, U-shape, coming down, sort of a U-shape, right? V-shape recovery, V-shape recovery, your high, next high, your high, next high, guess what? All the way down. Guess what? All the way down. Right now, we have put a low, we're going above half the way, rejecting, actually kind of below the half the way, right? Half the way of the drop. And right here, we also rejected half the way of the drop. And then we made a double bottom. Seems like we already are going back up. We already are creating that double bottom, right? So guess what? When is your entry, guys? When is your entry? Can you guys tell me? Well then, let's draw a couple of more lines here just to be sure. Let's get started with support and resistances. And let's jump down. Remember, zoom out. We want to see the structure here, right? That's going to be number one when we're trading. So let's do this trend line here. We acknowledge that there's a couple of lows in here. Let's try to keep them right here. And this is going to be my first line, right? I can change it along the way. Don't worry about it. So then maybe I'm going to be trying to grab as many lows as I can, with as many supports. I'm concentrating on this area. And then look at this. I maybe can force it a little bit up in here. So let's force it a little bit up in here to go through this low and this high. And maybe I can decorate a little bit more in here. So this is based on this price action. Well, then I'm going to be using it to grab maybe some of the farther price action that is forming. Guess what? Without even looking at this part, it was respecting it. What we do, we buy low, right? We sell high, or breakout, retest, off you go. What's going to be your entry? Well, then long position at your retest point, all right? Taking your stop loss in here, and off you go. Remember, you can always trade the breakout. I don't like to trade breakouts, but also we need to acknowledge that sometimes we need to. When we start looking at an oscillator or something like that, especially oscillators, since they are directional tools, we can start predicting whether if we should be waiting for a retest or we shouldn't, right? Maybe we can take the risk and set and expect a breakout retest, or maybe just trading the breakout, right? But in the meantime, let's adjust for what we are learning right now and how we get started trading with what we got in hand, right? Remember, we all started somewhere, and we can do so much with only the basics, right? Then we're gonna be going a little bit more into the nitty gritty, and we'll have so much more fun with the indicators once we know what we're looking for, right? So let's jump right now into my last comment. Let me clear this up, right? Remember something that I told you yesterday. I loved the I love the charts because I can relate them with geometry, right? It is something that I really like, that's something I really enjoy, and everything connects itself. Remember when we were measuring this is a bullish trend. We usually measure those trends at the bottom, right, for support, because that's where we want to jump in. So again, are you willing to jump in here? Once again, it is too late at this point, right? Because guess what? Our entry, it's gone. So we either wait for the next retest, right? Or breakout, retest, and off we go. The same, right? But by measuring the trend right now, we can also think outside the box, or try to think outside the box, and then clone this tool or this line in here, or even create a new one by trying to grab these other highs, right? So what am I measuring these highs? What I want to measure, it is the next high not reaching all the way up to this area. That usually creates a lower low, a lower high. And then I'm looking for a lower low, which then indicates further move to the base or support, right? But now, by just adding one more line, we created, or we transform a trend line into a channel, right? This is the point where I give you guys the introduction to, remember, the regression trend. The regression trend uses the median, top channel line, bottom channel line, right? Now, what else can we do with basics, with the lines? Well, we can start looking for other stuff, right? What kind of other stuff? Well, patterns. Remember that everything connects. I have prepared a couple of stuff with you guys here so we can go over them. We're not going to be covering them all, but of course we're going to be covering the most basics, or the ones that I usually feel that they play out the most. If you really dive within patterns, you're going to be looking at breakout possibilities, right? So 20% chances of breaking up, 20% chances of breaking down, 60% chances of breaking up, so on and so forth. Depending on which pattern, you will have a different percentage of breakout, right? Take that with a tweezer. That is because it usually depends on the overall trend. Let me give you an example. This is an up-ranging channel, right? Or called in many other ways, we'll see a couple of those, but usually this kind of ranges break, or patterns break to the downside. If I'm not mistaken, they have between a 35 and a 40% chances of breaking down, right? But if I am, and let me zoom out to where, let's go to somewhere like 4 hours, all right? If I'm in a downtrend, well, most likely it's gonna be breaking down because it's gonna be following the trend. But if this is, and let me show you one of those, if I am in an uptrend, usually or most likely I'm gonna be breaking up that pattern, all right? Breaking up. That usually depends on what kind of asset do I have, like for example this one, right? And then the trend in which I am. That also gonna be playing a role. A pattern within themselves is usually to measure bigger pictures in your chart. So you are usually gonna be zooming out, like for example this pattern right here, right? We can be either looking for, because also this can transform in many different patterns, but let's get started with this most simple one. This is a symmetrical triangle, right? Usually symmetrical triangles have 50-50 chances to breaking out. So, OC, and I've been asked this, so why in the world am I gonna be doing that? I mean, what am I going to be trading with that information? Yeah, 50-50, I'd rather go gamble it, right? So, sort of. The main point in here is this, it is not the pattern within themselves. These are the limits. The limits that we define are the secret for the pattern breakout, right? Because remember, it's not about the breakout, it's about your retest. And where do you predict your retest? At your trend line created within the pattern, right? Also, remember what we talked about, medians, right? What is a median? Let's not jump into too much mathematics here. You can go ahead and get a little more technical, but overall, it's not precisely the center, but the center-ish, kind of like the gravity of mass, the center of gravity of mass of a shape, right? Usually I define that with the highest or biggest side or hypotenuse, right? And then looking the kind of like the center of this line, right? Maybe I can even measure it like that. And yeah, I'm roughly at the center. And then I'm gonna be aiming from the center to the convergence, right? So that usually gives me a center line. What does this represent? Just like in a channel, all right, we use the center line or the median to see where most of the action it's playing out, right? Look at, for example, in this case, most of the time of this range, the price was below the median, giving it a weight to the downside. Basically, this is a loaded dice, right? Remember also something that we talked about, it was the Wyckoff setup here, right? This is again based on calculations, so we're gonna be cheating a little bit on the charts to make our life easier, right? And let's remember this setup in here, right? Look at from the median, make an imaginary median here, and you'll see most of the action is weighted below the median, right? So yeah, let me read you guys. I see that I'm missing a couple of messages here. Violet, what is up? I think I ended up in there saying Violet hi. So who else have been here? Dave P, what is up? Who else we got in here? Donato Cabrera, what's up, my friend? Great to see you around. Dave P, what's up? What else? Uncle Jesse, what is up, my friend? Great to see you here. Great to have you around, my friend. Who else we have around? I think that will be about it. Let me see if we have anything, any requests. If you guys have a request, please put a thumbs up at the end of the request. That'll make my life much easier while trying to read. So I am never good at math, but wish I had OCs as a teacher. My friend, you're awesome trader. I've been on your classes. You're killing it, my friend. Let's go. Uncle Jesse, I love being around OC. I love being around you guys, especially you, Uncle Jesse. Love it, my friend. Feeling the vibe. 30, what's up, buddy? By the way, guys, 30 in the house. He is part of the Chart Prime team. Great guy. Don't tell Alex, but sometimes we play video games in between hours when nobody's around. Just like a little bit of chess, just to keep our brain fresh, right, 30? Right? All right. Other than that, let's take a look at what else we got here. So, what I'm trying to get you guys is that feeling like everything is connected, right? So everything just has kind of like a reason for being, and we can go either technical, right, as you want, physical as you want, or, you know, like going as far or as low as you wish. It doesn't matter. But what it matters is that everything is connected, right? At this point, now that we start understanding this stuff, we can also give you guys a different perspective here. When we were somewhere around these areas, in fact, when we were here, everybody was talking about something like this. And I was, no, that is not it. That is not it. We are into a Wyckoff setup. Why is that? Because if we invert this, we have the range, the V-shaped recovery, and then we have the volatility factor here, right? It really doesn't matter, guys. I'm here to tell you that whatever floats your boat, it's okay, because you need the ability to change your mind fast, right? Evolve with times. This is something important that I've learned in trading. You cannot be right 100% of the times, but what you can do is change your opinion and change your perspective as fast as possible and still make a profit out of it, right? Remember, changing your perspective is of wisdom. So smart guys are always looking for someone to challenge their perspective, and they learn new stuff. Talking about changing your perspective, right? What if we apply the same aspect of a trend line or a support zone with a fake out? For example, we have right here a support, we have a support, we have another support. So if we have 3 points of support, why don't we draw a line like this, right? And then why don't we draw a line like this? This is giving us, let me zoom in, a megaphone, all right, or a broadening wedge. So where does the broadening wedge breaks down or breaks up? I kind of like already told you guys, but it doesn't really matter. Why? Because as long as you do the same thing, maybe let's draw a line in here, right? Let's find the center-ish of this line. Let's also aim for the center of this pattern, and let's draw our median, right? Remember, if we're quick and we see the flip in here, we can maybe take a long from here or on the retest, and off we go, right? Maybe set your stop loss below this area and you have yourself a setup. Long the bottom, short the top, use a stop loss, and whenever it breaks, you stand up at the breakout, it's about your retest, and off you go. All right. So as you can see, we're evolving from what? A symmetrical triangle. All right. There we go. 2, and let me change those colors. Let's make those, I don't know, orange. Obnoxious orange. All right, like this, right? We change from a symmetrical triangle, 50-50 chances of breaking, to a broadening wedge. And we can even change it again. The point is, it doesn't matter. FD White in the house. What's up, buddy? Really excited to have you around. Really excited that you guys are visiting the show. Thank you very much for being around. Hey, Alex, crypto, the order. What is up, my friend? You know what? I need to add my order or your order picture on my intro because I already have the hoodie guy. And yeah, let's do that. Thank you so much for joining, Alex. We really appreciate it. It really means a lot for me. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining on today's class. So, as you can see, it doesn't matter the perspective, right? Now that we have Alex in here, he cannot speak on the live. I'm going to take advantage and call him off. No, just kidding. Of course not. I could be talking about how I'm going to be winning the next Halo game, But I'll be humble this time, Alex. Don't worry. Just kidding. Keep my ass negative to positive. I'm just only say that, right? I'm only gonna be saying that. All right. Other than that, again, it doesn't really matter as long as you can identify something, and then as soon as you're identifying other stuff, you are quick to change your mind or quick to change the outcome of that trade, right? So as you can see, we can basically create the same perspective trading out of this. Let me show you how. All right. Let's concentrate for it right now. Show me ETH OC. Oh man, you won't believe this, but ETH, and I got to prove it. It is Fidelity Ethereum. So if you know, you know. ETH, man, ETH. I'll do ETH. I'll do it. I'll suck it up and I'll do it. I promise. All right. Oh man, I hate it. Nonetheless, let's try to do the TA here, right? Let's replicate the TA. So let me just for a second hide. Look at that. Click the lines, right? Maybe can I control click them? Yes, control click them all, right? I can set them into a group. I can lock the group and I can hide the group. Let's call this broadening wedge, right? Okay. And then let's concentrate at this point for a little second on this pattern here, right? Alex's favorite pattern, symmetrical triangles. As I hate it, he hates triangles, especially symmetrical triangles. So at this point, what do? Well, we long the what? The bottom, right? We long the bottom, we short the top. By the way, little quick tip here. I usually do not take the trades when I'm at the end, right? I usually take the trades when I'm at the end. I usually take the trade on the breakout retest, right? So at this point, where is this triangle weighted? It is weighted heavily downwards, right? So far, what is that telling us? This telling us that we could be having a breakout to the downside, all right? So most probably. So at this point, I can do my support and resistances. Remember the same thing that I've been doing in breakout, retest, and off we go with a short position here. Or I can just wait it and do, why not, even two positions at the same time. Maybe I can long this, set my stop loss below my previous lows in here, or even this low in here, give myself this low, give myself a little bit of a wiggle room, aim to previous highs, and as long as I am above 1.1, I will be willing to take that trade, all right? And then at the same time, I can short the position, not at the breakout, at the retest, right there, right? Short position, right there, stop loss back at the entry or at inside of the pattern, aiming for my previous low, and then that will be it. All right. Now that we have this, and remember, depending on the breakout, we're gonna be taking, or depending on the movement here, we're gonna be taking one trade or the other. Do not be afraid of hedging. Homework, guys. Read for hedging. We're gonna be diving into it a little farther into the classes. But at this point, you only need to know that the hedging, it is that you can open up a different position, one contrary to another one, to hedge or counteract either a loss or a unknown breakout, like a symmetrical triangle. All right, perfect. Now let's ignore this triangle. All right, with control, we're gonna be selecting all of this lines in here, and we're gonna be clicking here, the create group, and we're gonna be calling this triangle. All right, let's close this, let's lock it, let's hide it, let's unhide the broadening wedge. All right, guys, where do we long? Either at support, we are at the medium support. What would be maybe the next support? Oh, where I'm planning to bounce from. You see that? All right, so maybe this is telling me, all right, this long is telling me that I could be even longing right now. So maybe I can aim between those two. You see? So, but here's where things comes a little bit better. At this point, I see that I could have another setup here, right? So why would I be now adding a stop loss that big? If I can maybe take the risk and then trying to get my previous low signal right here and not this low right there, right? Maybe I can even aim, which is another trick, subdivide your patterns. So maybe I can take right here my stop loss, right? And aim at the top with maybe TP1 at the previous high. So I have almost an exact same setup. What's going to happen if this breaks down? Breaks down, maybe found some support, goes up, and guess what? What should I be doing at the median right there? Short position, almost exactly as my previous setup there, right? So it doesn't matter what you're having there, guys, right? Support, resistance, trend lines, guys, that's basically everything you need, right? We have, yes, a little bit of a wiggle room there between the triangle and the broadening wedge, right? But again, it's not such a big of a difference, right? Especially not in the 4 hours. So how can we maybe do a better entry here? What we can do here, having in mind that we're trading the 4 hours, we can go to the 1 hour, to 30 minutes, or even the 15 minutes if you are really pushing it, to start finding breakout retest confirmations. Basically, late entries on the 15 minutes that confirms a early entry on the 4 hours, if that makes sense. Let me try to do that with you guys here. In fact, we already have done it, but let's repeat it, right? Let me clear everything up. Let's draw, of course, a trend line here, so we know what we're doing. And again, if you don't remember what we do it, go back, rewind this class, you'll see that. Let's go to the 1 hour, and guess what I got? I can even make it a little bit more, there we go, a little bit more in line. Where do I enter for a long? I enter for a long on support, right? And then remember, I'm missing here a line. I can draw another line, and then I can close part of my entry right there. And if I break a retest, this is gonna be my next area of entry, right? How does that compare to what I got on my 4 hours, right? Breakout retest against on the median. Look at that. The median of the broadening wedge, it is coexistent almost perfectly with the downtrend of the 1 hour, right? Everything is connected, guys. So as long as you can pair two different scenarios to find your confluence, that is what is going to be guiding your reference trade, all right? So that's going to be for this setup right now. Let's wrap it up, the educational part, by me showing you a couple of things. I want you guys to take a look at Binance Academy. We're not associated with Binance. In fact, if I wouldn't be so invested in Binance, I would not be trading Binance. I do trade in Binance, but that's because it gives me one of the best compound savings out there. And I'm very, very, very careful. In fact, what I'm migrating is right here, guys. I'm migrating to bluffing. By the way, if you guys want to cash out $300 with a deposit, check out our links below. We're partnering with Bluffing, right, to get you guys going on trading. So almost out of risk. You just need to deposit a couple of bucks in there, and then you could be cashing out some rewards up to 300. Check out the details down below. All right. Now that you maybe have $300 on your account, well, then we're going to go back here to the Academy and to the Binance Academy. And what we're going to be doing in the Binance Academy is, of course, taking advantage of how simplistic they show you the setups, right? And I mean, what's the king or the crown to the king, right? So what's happening here? They're doing a great job to simplify it or even oversimplify stuff. I think this is great for education or even for beginners. So for example, one of my favorite breakout patterns, it is the bull flag, right? Coming up. And by the way, you do not expect a one single candle coming up. This is a setup of a trend. Let me copy this image and let's go find one, right? Here we go. You see, set of candles going up, making a pole. You don't know it's there until you're seeing the consolidation of that trend. Once you start seeing that trend, oh, you see, oh, we're coming from the downside to the upside, right? Most likely we're gonna have a breakout pattern. If this is too small, what do? You can go and take advantage of lower time frames. Let's go to the 15 minutes. Let's see if I can find it. Most likely I will. It's just gonna take me a minute. Here it is. Perfect. Now, on the 15 minutes, since we have a little bit more data to play with, so more candles, we can start drawing our trend lines, right? Let's try to fix this trend lines here. Look at this trend line there. This trend line's a little bit crooked. I think I can do a much better job doing this, all right? Or even calculating this one like that, all right? So I think this is gonna be a better flagging here. So it's not about your breakout, it's about your retest, and off you go. Secondary retest, did we finish falling? Yes. How do we know that? Remember, we still have the trend line on its place, right? Both of them. What is your confluence point? Right in here. Do we have a support? Yes, we do, right? Are we losing that support? Seems like not. We're not. So where is your entry? The retest. Long position, breakout, or bounce back to your support area. Aim to your previous low in here and then give yourself a wiggle room. What do you aim for taking profits? Of course, you're going to be trailing it out, or at least taking partial profits at the previous base, right? At the previous highs, right? And then the rest, let it ride. How do you let it ride? At least move your stop to entry, right? You already have taken a couple of setups in here, and you can even use trailing. Next setup, guys, learn about trading. We're gonna be talking about it, but further within the courses here. So there is a bull flag for you guys. And what is the psychology of this? It's usually bullish breakouts, all right? Let's go to the next one really quick. We have a bear flag. It is almost the exact same way of a bull flag, but inverted, all right? Let's skip it for a second. Let's go to a pennant. What's the difference between a flag and a pennant? That the end of the pennant usually is a triangle, all right? Bullish pennant when we have the up ranging or the trend going up, and we create something like a symmetrical triangle at the end, all right? That is usually a pennant. And then bearish pennant when this stick is coming from the top to the bottom, all right? Ascending triangles. Here's a couple of things on the ascending triangles. This is oversimplified here, but let me give you a couple of tips in here. When we have triangles, and I see one in here, depending on the triangle, and doesn't need to end up in a sharp dot. If the top part of the triangle as well as the bottom part of the triangle, right, are converging, basically going to a point, right? Both of them are moving. Both of them are angular based on your horizontal. This one here, based on your horizontal, this is also angular, right? This usually breaks when we're aiming up. We break to the downside. It's not about the breakout, it's about your retest, your entry, and off we go, all right? But when you have a flat top or flat bottom triangle, something, let me draw it because it's not going to take me a long time to find one. Something like that, right? Usually, we break, not always, we break to the flat part, all right? Just a little quick tip. They have different names. This is a triangle, flat top triangle, or even pennant, and this is a wedge, all right? but basically they played out the same way, or the inners played out the same way, right? Everything is support, everything it is a resistance. The only difference it is that when you have a flat something, like for example, if we just, of course you cannot do that. If we do have something like that, right? We usually break to the flat part and make sure it is very flat. All right, just a quick tip there. Let's go to the next one here to cover as much as we can, right? Oh, there we go. Descending triangle. You look at that, breaking to the flat part, right? Breaking through the flat part. You see that? Perfect. Symmetrical triangle, what we talked about, symmetrical. By the way, a symmetrical triangle with a big pole, that's also called a bullish pennant. The difference between a pennant, it is basically of perception. Why is that? Because if you're trading, for example, right now, the 15 minutes, let me show it to you. Let's go to the end, because I know there's a triangle there, right? Usually a symmetrical triangle, it is a big picture, all right? It is a very big picture in the trading space, right? It's something like that. It's big, huge. It covers most of your screen. While a pennant, usually it is part of the inner structure here, right? Inner structure for pennants, bigger structure triangles, if that makes sense. But remember, I'm on the 15 minutes. If I go to the 2 hours, I kid you not, this becomes a what? A pennant again, right? So it is, do not worry too much about, like being absolutely right. So I always give you guys the slack. Why? Because when I get started, I got very into, hey, is this it? Or is this not it, right? Or, man, this is so similar. What do I do? And then I start losing my mind over things that really don't matter. So I'm here to tell you guys, despite we can take advantage and trade the inner structure, which is absolutely fine, and we should be doing that. Well, the real gold on patterns are the breakout lines, right? Your real gold is identifying your support and identifying your resistance, all right? And then look at that. It doesn't matter where it breaks. It breaks. Oh, perfect. Retest, confirmation candle, enter. Beautiful. You're laughing all the way to the bank. Nice, right? Nailed it. So let's take a look at the next here. The next pattern here. We got, there we go, rising wedges. Remember the difference that I explained between the flat top and a wedge, right? The breakout, the slightly percentage weighted to the breakout is different, right? So usually we break to the downside on rising wedges and we break to the upside on falling wedges. That's why the only caveat here, or the only thing that you need to be aware of, is in triangles, flat top or flat bottom triangles, you need to make sure that you're actually flat, right? Or as flat as it can be. Slightly difference in the lows are okay, all right? But nothing like this. This is not at all a flat top triangle, right? This is not at all a flat bottom triangle, if that makes sense, right? So just bear that in mind. Then one of my favorite ones, it is the double top and the double bottoms, which are almost exactly the same as W patterns. The difference between those two, it is again the size of the time frame that you are in. So very much a double bottom on the 4 hour could be a W pattern on the 15 minutes. All right, let's go find some of those. Also, by the way, I do give myself a little slack, and I'm not looking for a perfectly double bottom, but I could consider this a double bottom, right? This could be a double top, right? This could be a double top, right? Let's see. And by the way, of course, you want them to be kind of like at the top for double tops, right? And kind of like at the bottom for double bottoms, right? Also, could be considered a double bottom here. Let's go for something a little bit more obvious. Oh, this one here, maybe double bottom, right? Double bottom, right? And by the way, when you look at 4-hour time frames on Bitcoin, it loves to do double tops and double bottoms. So a quick tip there for you guys. All right, now I think we are prepared to move into the next part of this session, which is doing analysis and trade setups based on what we know. All right. So guys, this is the time when I'm going to be requesting you guys a couple of assets. Let's get started with FE theme, just for Alex at Crypto. Week 589 Classic. What's up, my friend? Welcome to the show. I really appreciate you being here. All right, guys, remember, send me your asset and do a little hands up in there so I can see it easily. Let's see what else we got. Do we have any requests so far? Well, then let's do it. I hate it, but whatever. Ethereum. Let's go for Ethereum. By the way, let's go to our following here. So let's add ETH. Let's go for bits. The crypto bluffing, and let's go to perpetual. A little more volatility there. Ethereum, perfect. Double click here. Let's go to the 4 hours. Why? Because I'm a little more profitable the 4 hours. And look at that. What do we got here, guys? Either, depending on your perspective, right? Either a symmetrical triangle, right? Or if we zoom out, a bullish pennant, right? Let's go at the end. Let's actually do a trade setup here. So what do we have here? Once again, let's just zoom out. I remember always have some perspective here. The perspective at this point is that we're downtrending, right? Let's do our downtrend line in here. Perfect. As you can see, we are diverging, having a little bit more down movement, a little more momentum right down here. So let's adjust with a secondary trend line right there. It seems that we have found some support, and we can even create, there we go. Oh, what the hell is that? We can even create a secondary set of higher highs and higher lows, right? Let's zoom into this one and let's try to trade this. I also acknowledge that I have a set of a possible range. Let's use one of our tools in here for a regression trend. Let's grab here to here before the breakout, so it doesn't include it. Guess what? It's not about your breakout, it's about your retest. And if you go, your entry is already too late. But if there's a chance for us to flip back down and coming back down here, well then this is where, and right here, I'm gonna be clicking this line. Right click, and I want to make sure that it's locked, all right? Once that this is locked, I can right click it again, and then I can add an alert on this trend line. Let's give it a name in here, or even a message. So it's gonna be 4 hour bull entry F. All right, let's click OK, and then this little symbol is gonna appear. You know what? At this point, as always, if you want to readjust it, you can unlock it, move it slightly, tilt it slightly, right? Play with it until you're satisfied with what you see, and then once again, right click, and then lock it. So, set up for entries. I'm not going to be chasing after this price. Too bad, I missed it. I'm going to be going here, setting my stop in here like this, and I'm going to be waiting for the best. Then, what's going to happen in here? I'm going to try not to let this one go. Even if I hate Ethereum, I'm going to try to try it. I'm going to try to long this, right? Or even short it. So, I know this is a movement to the upside. Everything that was given, it's been taken, almost everything. Which means I could have, what am I could be looking for? Either a bullish pennant, right? Or a symmetrical triangle, right? Another thing that I could be looking for here would be a breakout retest, and that will be my next possible entry. So I could even go in here, and my setup, my stop loss is going to be very, very short. Right here, maybe give myself a little slack. So the only difference in here is this this could go against me because I am not waiting for a complete pullback all the way down here. I'd rather go into this area of support before entering on this itty bitty possible retracement. There is one more thing that we have talked about, which is a dead cat bounce. A dead cat bounce is basically a lower high on what seems to be a breakout retest, and off we go. All right. So basically, it's a way to trap breakout traders, right? So be careful, because if we start rolling over, that's why you're gonna be moving your stop to entry. All right. And then if this needs to liquidate, not liquidate it, but stop you out on profits, let it do it. All right. But in the meantime, we're gonna be waiting for that entry. So that's what we got on Ethereum. Guys, what else do we have on setups? What are you guys looking at? Do we get an after the show? I don't know. Maybe if we have enough requests, maybe I can talk with MJ to see what she thinks. I don't see it around. He was supposed to be here, but yeah. Let's see. All right, let's take a look at a couple of other things. If we don't have any other requests, by the way, guys, please give me your requests. But if we don't have any other requests, let's go to something that I like to see. Let's use the crypto bubble. Since I trade on the 4 hours, I usually want to go one time from ahead, right? So at this point, what I'm going to be looking, it is trying to burst these bubbles, right? Look at this, looking juicy to burst, right? So if this is a green bubble, I'm going to try to short it, right? And remember, I will be very quick to change my mind depending on what I see. If I see pi very bearish, I might be trying to long it, right? Turbo, perfect for Joe. Absolutely. Let's take a turbo. Thank you for that, Alexander G. And thank you for that, Joe, Trading Tuition. Harp, which has just made it and just said yesterday. Oh yeah, man. Still working on, this end of the screen stuff, but absolutely, my friend. So maybe we can just even wait for tomorrow's show. All right. So trying to long it, trying to burst it, or trying to short it, right? So let's go and take a look at Kava, Hex, Pi, and Turbo. Let's try to make them through all of those. So let's first start with Turbo. Turbo, let's go, of course, perpetual. It's a Turbo, 4 hours. Let's use our tooling here, right? Very neat. I'm going to be trying. And by the way, what did we learn that this could be? This could be a bear flag, so we need to be a little bit careful here. Usually bear flags do not run that long, so we could be just into a up-ranging channel. Still, up-ranging channels tend to break to the low point here, right? Tend to break down, like breakdown retest, and off we go, at least to make a higher low, right? So we need to be careful on this one. So where do we enter? Well, our entry, it is not defined just yet because we have not yet touched any kind of support at this point. What are we expecting? We're expecting to see something happening right here. 4 hours not giving me too many candles to work with. So let's go to the 1 hour here to have a little more candle structure. So, all right, seems like I do have a little more candle structure. Let's do some inception here. So at this point, I could be looking for a 1 hour short at this point, or even a breakout retest. If I do this and then start making a higher low, this is gonna be my entry, right? Why? Because I have the support trend line here. All right. So, and so on. So far, I'm gonna be aiming for a short at the median 1 hour, right? What could maybe this, or how could this go wrong? If we overshoot out of the median, all right, and then we come back down, multiple candles, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? In that case, this is gonna become new support, and then we aim to the upside. This is too small for me, so I rather trade the whole range, long the bottom, short the top, right? Long the bottom, short the top. What else? Long the bottom, short the top. So for me, I'd rather wait for the bottom to be hit, and we already have gone through a lot in here. The farther that we go within the same pattern, the greater the chance to break down. So we need to be very careful here. Why is that? Because we've been for a long time in this one, and maybe the next visit to the bottom might be the last one before we go lower. That's why we need a stop loss. All right, let me add it once again. Our trade setup, it's gonna be here. Our stop loss somewhere around there. We're gonna be aiming TP1 and TP2. All right, like that. All right, perfect. We got turbo. Let's go to the next one. We agreed on, let's do hex. We don't have hex. Are you kidding me? Yeah, we don't have hex. All right, let's go then with pi. I think we might. We might. Not really. Pi network. Yeah, not really. Nonetheless, let's go here to crypto. Let's do bluffing. Let's do Pi network. Perfect. Pi net. You know what? I don't feel comfortable giving a trade setup on that one. Let's use another one that it's a little bit more stable. On the Pi network, I might be just typing something off there. Let's go with Kava. I know that one. Perfect. Kava, moving to the upside. Let's go to the 4 hours. All right, it's strong uptrend. We can do the trend analysis very quickly like that. All right, seems like we are threading to burst. So I'm gonna be zooming out, and let's gonna be finding our patterns. Look at that, we have a pattern in here, right? What kind of pattern? Great zone to start practicing. Is this a what? This is a bullish pennant that ended up breaking downwards. Remember, that's why we don't rely always on where is it weighted to, but the gold, it is on its trend lines. All right, breakout retest within the same candle, off we go. But that's the next thing that we got there. So let's use one of our tools in here just to mark what is the concentration of those candles. There we go, and we are at a resistance. All right, so at this point we are at the top. It seems that we want to push through. So I will not be shorting it until we get somewhere around here, and my short will be to the median. If we short this, let's go with short. My stop loss is going to be slightly up in here. I'm going to be aiming to the median, right? If I overshoot, let it take me out, because previous resistance becomes new support. When we are back at the trend line, that's when I'm going to be going for a long position in case the short fails. All right, remember, so far we're limited of what we have learned, and we're trading with this. All right, what let me read that. I seriously thought I was the only one. What, man? Fill me in, guys. Lol, harps, it's 1:58 a.m. Oh, really? Man, thank you for being around. Shout out for you, my friend. Shout out for a hardcore member. Thank you, my friend. Really appreciate it. All right, it's 7:01. I think that is good enough for today. Let's go to say goodbye, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Sorry to run a little bit over time here. I really appreciate you guys coming in here. Guys, if you have any questions, remember you can ask me here on the chat. And also, of course, if you have any setups that you want me to take a look at, please send them here. I'm going to be more than happy to trade them with you guys and develop the trade setups as we proceed forward with the lessons, right? Other than that, guys, thank you so much for joining. And as always, see you guys tomorrow.